Hi people, it's Chilli here from Live Listen Erased, and welcome to this episode of 5 Minute Reviews. On today's episode, we will be looking over Devin Townsend's newest album, Puzzles and Snuggles. The double album treat here. So, without further ado, let's get into Devin Townsend. Devin Townsend is the self-proclaimed casualty of cool, writing enigmatic and sometimes extreme music. To place him in one genre would be a travesty, as he often traverses through genres like Stan Lee in the MCU, changing styles from release to release, or song to song, or even within the same track. It cannot be understated how talented Mr. Townsend is. At a young age, he was picked up for the vocalist for Steve Vai on the album Sex and Religion, and the subsequent tour burned him out enough to start his own band, Strappin' Young Lad. Strappin' Young Lad were an extreme metal band, and were famous for songs such as Love, Almost Again, Far Beyond, and of course, Relentless. After years with this band and his infamous skullet, seriously, Google that, it's a funny image. Of course, he would go on to make bands like the Devin Townsend Project, and of course, Devin Townsend's solo career. With his solo career, he created albums such as Ziltoid the Omniscient, which is a concept album based around an alien coming to Earth and trying to get the best cup of coffee. And we have 5 Earth minutes. It's a very weird concept, and it's a great album. I really recommend that you check it out. He has some other incredible albums such as Ocean Machine, Epic Loud, and of course, Transcendence. All of these are, of course, in the heavy metal realm. But now we are talking about this newest album. It is a double album. It is called Puzzles and Snuggles. So, of course, what do we think about this album? For a while after listening to the album, I wasn't sure how I would approach this episode. I could do it through the normal method, describing each song, but the individual tracks that make up this record would take more time to describe than to actually listen to the song. Take, for example, the song The Devil Is in the Details, with layered ambient sounds and other instruments intertwined within it, until it comes to a close, towards the end of the track, with a focused sound of saxophones and other various wind instruments. This description is just one point, but the song is less than a minute long. On the other hand, there are other songs on the album longer than 7 minutes. The main thing, though, that makes it very difficult to describe a track-by-track analysis is how this album is a somewhat concept album. The music is edited in a way to sound like it is one big song, and for this reason it feels sonically like a concept album. On top of this, there are minimal lyrics delivered within the albums, and whatever lyrics there are mostly nonsensical. I guess if I was to begin to describe this new record, I would say that it's not for new fans. The tunes here are ambient in nature, and it feels like orchestrated movements in parts. The songs ebb and flow within, and for sure this album is meant to be played from start to finish. But, as discussed, I would not recommend this for first-time listeners. Anyone who knows Devin and all the styles he covers would find this an interesting piece of work, and I would compare it to his DevLab record. Now, Devin has kept very prolific during the lockdown, and there is a video series about the making of this album, where he mentions why he makes this album. I'll leave that link in the bottom for those who are curious to watch. Like he states in the videos, as an artist, you are not entirely sure the next direction you take, and with the extensive lockdown, this came out of it. Now, there is a lot to hear with both of these records taking up around 1 hour and 45 minutes of ambient music. Well, I say ambient, but it's no lo-fi beats mix list. Not at all. Rather some ambient guitar and electronic mix, and there is no shortage of it if you like this stuff. Of course, for fans who may not have watched the Twitch streams or the making of these tracks and were expecting something along the lines of Epic Loud or Kingdom or whatever, then you will be disappointed, and I'm sorry to say that. Where do I sit on the whole album and tonal shift of Mr. Townsend? Well, it's difficult to rate this type of stuff. It's not usual to have a favourite lo-fi track. It's mostly atmospheric music, so stating my favourite songs from this series is impossible, especially because they can feel out of place when listened to by themselves. On the other hand, I can see what Devin was doing, keeping himself busy during the lockdown process and experimenting with this music. The two albums are vastly different, with Snuggles sounding very ethereal compared to the Puzzles album, which is a bit more of a complex movement. All the songs, however, do interplay, coming together into one giant song, which is a very nice mix. Ultimately, I'm going to make a controversial move and not rate this album at all. I don't believe it should be rated, actually. It's a very unique listen. I stayed out of the loop on purpose to not find out anything about the album, and in doing so, I didn't find out about what type of album it was going to be. That is my fault for not doing enough research beforehand, but that's the way I like to do my research as well. I want to be kept in the dark until the album is brought out, most of the time. My justification for not rating this album is purely because you have to be in the right mindset to hear this album. If you're not up for it, then it's not going to be enjoyable for you, regardless if you're a fan of Devin Townsend or not. It's an ambient album. At the end of the day, it must be played from start to finish, and if you are not a Devin Townsend fan, you're probably not going to enjoy this. However, if you find yourself liking all kinds of weird music, especially in that ambient scene, maybe you should check it out. Maybe this might be something that you will thoroughly enjoy. Who knows? Like I said, Devin Townsend covers multiple genres, and this isn't the first time he's delved into the ambient section. So, for me, it's an interesting listen, but it doesn't hold my attention. There isn't any signature tracks that I will play one by one. It's an album only, and for that, it's a complicated one. I'm sure some Devin Townsend fans will thoroughly enjoy this, but, of course, like I've said, you've just got to be in the right mindset to be playing it. This is Chilli from 5 Minute Reviews. Thank you for listening to this episode, and please leave a comment below with your thoughts on the album. Also, check out our socials at Live Listen Erased on Instagram and Twitter, and as always, stay spicy.